There was a man from Ramathaim-Zophim in the hill country of Ephraim. His name was Elkanah, son of Jophriam, son of Elihu, son of Tohu, son of Zuph, an Ephraimite. He had 2 wives, the first named Hannah, and the second named Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah was childless. This man would go up from his town every year to worship and to sacrifice to the Lord of hosts at Silo, where Eli's 2 sons, Hophni and Phinehas, were the Lord's priests. Whenever Elkanah offered a sacrifice, he always gave portions of the meat to his wife Peninnah and to each of her sons and daughters. But he gave a double portion to Hannah, for he loved her even though the Lord had kept her from conceiving. Her rival would taunt her severely just to provoke her, because the Lord had kept Hannah from conceiving. Whenever she went up to the Lord's house, her rival taunted her in this way every year. Hannah wept and would not eat. "Hannah, why are you crying?" her husband Elkanah asked. "Why won't you eat? Why are you troubled? Am I not better to you than 10 sons?" Hannah got up after they ate and drank at Shiloh. Eli the priest was sitting on a chair by the doorpost of the Lord's tabernacle. Deeply hurt, Hannah prayed to the Lord and wept with many tears. Making vows, she pleaded, "Lord of hosts, if you will take note of your servant's affliction, remember and not forget me, and give your servant a son. I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life, and his hair will never be cut." While she continued praying in the Lord's presence, Eli watched her lips. Hannah was praying silently, and though her lips were moving, her voice could not be heard. Eli thought she was drunk and scolded her. "How long are you going to be drunk? Get rid of your wine." "No, my lord," Hannah replied. "I am a woman with a broken heart. I haven't had wine or beer. I've been pouring out my heart before the Lord. Don't think of me as a wicked woman. I've been praying from the depth of my anguish and resentment." Eli responded, "Go in peace, and may the God of Israel grant the petition you've requested from him." "May your servant find favor with you," she replied. Then Hannah went on her way, and she ate and no longer looked despondent. The next morning, Elkanah and Hannah got up early to bow and worship before the Lord. Afterwards, they returned home to Ramah. Then Elkanah was intimate with his wife Hannah, and the Lord remembered her. After some time, Hannah conceived and gave birth to a son. She named him Samuel, because she said, "I requested him from the Lord." When Elkanah and all his household went up to make the annual sacrifice and his vow offering to the Lord, Hannah did not go and explain to her husband, "After the child is weaned, I'll take him to appear in the Lord's presence and to stay there permanently." Her husband Elkanah replied, "Do what you think is best, and stay here until you've weaned him. May the Lord confirm your word." So Hannah stayed there and nursed her son until she weaned him. When she had weaned him, she took him with her to Shiloh, as well as a 3-year-old bull, half a bushel of flour, and a jar of wine. Though the boy was still young, she took him to the Lord's house at Shiloh. Then they slaughtered the bull and brought the boy to Eli. "Please, my lord," she said, "as sure as you live, my lord, I am the woman who stood here beside you praying to the Lord. I prayed for this boy, and since the Lord gave me what I asked him for, I now give this boy to the Lord. For as long as he lives, he is given to the Lord." Then he bowed and worshipped to the Lord there. Hannah was despondent. She had remained childless for so long that her husband's other wife had given birth to several sons and daughters. Though her husband was good to her, Hannah was determined to become a mother herself. When the family traveled for their yearly pilgrimage to make sacrifices at the holy town of Shiloh, Hannah begged God through fervent, silent prayer to give her a son. The Lord delivered, If the Lord delivered, she promised she would give the child back to God. God was faithful, and Hannah bore a son. She named him Samuel because it means requested of God. When Samuel was 3 years old, she brought him to the priest to begin his service to the Lord. Samuel would devote himself to listening and obeying God from an early age, and Hannah would visit and bring him a new robe as he grew. At first glance, it would seem that Hannah came out on the losing side of her bargain with God. She had pleaded with the Lord to help her conceive, and though she was granted her ultimate desire, Hannah was compelled to relinquish her toddler and allow him to be raised by Eli, the priest, according to the arrangement. Hannah had her precious child in her arms for only 3 short years. But Hannah knew what many of us so often forget. All of what we have belongs to God. For both before it was given to us and long after we received it, 1 Chronicles 29:14 tells us, "For everything comes from you, and we have given you only what comes from your own hand." If we begin from a place of devoting all we have to God, then we can hold people and possessions with a looser grasp, avoiding the distractions of a worldly attitude that shouts "mine," and replace it with a gentle voice whispering, "His."